Seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode number 84 of CBD Talk Podcast. Tonight we have a very interesting man with some awesome art behind him. You'll meet him in just a second, Michael McGuffin. He is the president of the American Herbal Products Association. He's got an amazing event coming up August 15th and 16th in Denver that we're going to talk about. I do want to really quickly mention that you may want to sign up for our newsletter at CBD Talk Podcast. I've got a book coming out soon. I'm hoping by the end of September. And it's a little bit different. It's definitely about CBD, but it's a fiction. So this is probably going to be more towards the women in the audience than the men, because it's like a mystery with a little romance, but it has a lot of knowledge about CBD in it, because I'm trying to come in the back door and teach some new people about CBD, because it's all about the education. So if you sign up at cbdtalkpodcast.com for the newsletter, when it comes out, I'll make sure I send out a link for a free download if you'd like it. Okay, so we're going to head over to meet Michael McGuffin, and with the beautiful artwork behind him.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Michael has been the president for just under, by the time you listen to this, probably 20 years, but 19 years and a few days short of 20 years of the American Herbal Products Association. And they are having a hemp CBD supplement congress, which I'll be going to it, and we'll be reporting on, giving you lots of great information on it. But if you happen to be able to come to Denver for August 15th and 16th, look up. I'll put the link in the show notes, so you can click, and if you have time, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a great event. It's going to have an unnamed at this point speaker from the FDA, because I looked at the agenda today. I didn't see a name yet. And then a speaker from the USDA.
I think it's going to be Kara Welsh.
Really?
What I was told yesterday. I think you're right, though. It's not yet on the written agenda, but we understand it'll be Kara Welsh.
Awesome. And then what does she do with the FDA?
When we met her, she was with the Office of Dietary Supplement Programs, but she's now in a different office. I think she's in the office of the commissioner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But she knows this subject. I've spoken with her at length about the subject. She'll be a really good presenter on the agency's perspective on how we're going to properly regulate this whole class of goods.
And I'm really interested in that. That's going to be amazing. And I see you have someone from the USDA there as well.
Yep.
That's going to be fun. And our own Governor, Jared Polis.
Right. So he's going to come by in the morning and give a short keynote. We know that Governor Polis has been a big supporter of the legalization effort for hemp and CBD, even when he was in the Congress. And of course, he's now in the state of Colorado, has a leading role both statewide and to the degree that Colorado leads the nation in so many ways, having gotten there early on the medical marijuana and then the adult use marijuana side. So.
Yeah, I actually campaigned for him, so I was very pleased when he won. I think he's really good for the industry and a lot of other things as well. Yeah. Okay, so how about we start out with you kind of telling us how you got into the herbal practices first, and then how that transitioned into you now working with CBD as well.
Well, okay. This story starts a long time ago, but I'll try to tell it briefly. I've been just a lover of plants and herbs ever since I was a kid. I started digging up sassafras when I was 10 or 11 years old, living in the suburbs between Baltimore and Washington, and making root beer in the summertime or spring. By the time I moved to California when I was 23 years old, me and a couple other hippies started a little, I always want to say a groovy little store on the boardwalk in Venice where we sold fresh fruits and vegetables and bulk dried herbs. That was 1974. I've been in the herb business ever since, first at that retail side, then as a manufacturer of a product line, mostly tinctures, herbal liquid extracts. And now as you pointed out, I've been the president of AHPA for 2 days shy of 20 years, and love my work. It's great to work in an industry filled with people who love what they do and know that their work is valuable. And that's the industry that I have worked with now for decades.
So, I mean, I understand the whole herbal part. Oops, my little picture is, I'm missing you on your picture. I'll move over this screen this time. So, at what point did AHPA bring CBD more into the picture?
The AHPA board chartered a cannabis committee in 2010. And at that time, I think there was a bit of an industry response, sounded like, you what? What does anybody care about that plant? And our view was, it's another herb. It's an herb that needs to be embraced by the herbal products industry. The primary focus at that time was on medical marijuana, and then also the emergence of some states that were looking at legalizing for all use. But our first the initial interest that came to the AHPA board was from analytical labs who wanted to make sure that there was a good regulatory structure for their engagement with this emerging class of goods. And as I said, this other plant, we want to treat it like any other plant. So we founded the Cannabis Committee, and then in a way, the hemp CBD marketplace emerged around us. But we've been involved in it ever since those products started coming into the marketplace. We've been in communication with companies in that sector. We've been working with them on quality issues, labeling standards, working with pushing the regulators into establishing the framework that's necessary to protect consumers first and protect the marketplace.
Were you surprised at just how the CBD part of it exploded compared to the THC side? That it's really just it's just amazing how big and fast it seems to have grown.
Yes, surprise is a insufficiently word. Stunned maybe, amazed. I've been in this trade for 45 years. I believe I could say never seen anything like it, and that would not be an exaggeration. It's mysterious to me, but it all comes to the consumer embrace. This is not, I don't believe this is a consumer response to marketing.
Right.
It's the consumer realization of the value of this botanical, and then their demand for it. And the marketplace is filling and meeting that demand. But it is simply remarkable. We had some good years of echinacea sales. That was great. St. John's wort came along and had its day in the sun.
Melatonin.
Well, that's not a botanical, but sure, that was an important supplement ingredient that came along. Those are good ingredients, and they still have a commanding place in the marketplace, but nothing like this.
Yeah, and all of those have a clear set of guidelines and structure around them to keep people safe.
Right.
Which CBD does not.
And I disagree with that. I think CBD does.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same framework. And this is what we have been advocating. In fact, we now have a formal position where we recommend that anybody that's selling products that contain hemp or CBD in a form that looks like a dietary supplement, a tablet, a capsule, a tincture, or a form that looks like a cosmetic, a topical product, or a food product, comply with the regulations.
Right, so but where's the teeth behind it?
Well, the Food and Drug Administration has sent warning letters to companies making drug claims. We're aware of just a few incidents where FDA has gone into manufacturing facilities that are making hemp products and told them that they need to comply with the same good manufacturing practice that is obligatory for every other botanical, every other
Mm-hmm.
dietary supplement. It is a little too insufficient at this time. FDA has not fully embraced the enforcement of these regulations.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you that when we sit in their offices with them, there's no disagreement with me, our attorney, our company representatives, and the senior people at the Food and Drug Administration that this regulatory framework is the one that fits, with a little modification because of a couple of provisions of the law and the chemical makeup of this plant. We have an obligation to get the THC out, to keep the THC below that level that turns it into an inebriant,
Right.
into
So
cannabis,
keep it in
marijuana.
the industrial hemp classification.
Keep it at not more than 0.3% THC.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, though, most finished products are going to stay way below that.
Yeah.
No one is targeting that amount for their finished products. THC is not the constituent of interest for these
Mm-hmm.
hemp and CBD products.
Right, right. But what I was talking about is more about the regulation, like the enforcement.
Yeah,
I really want, you see a lot of, and I embrace the warning letters. I'm grateful for them, and I remember a couple years back when they did random testing of products showing that there wasn't the contents in there that some of them said that there was.
right.
And that's really where I want to see some enforcement come in.
I agree. And that's a lot of this hemp CBD supplement Congress that we're convening in Denver in a couple of weeks. We are addressing the same issue that we saw when we first founded our cannabis committee, which was that the marketplace was years ahead of the nation. So here's the marketplace that we have today for hemp and CBD products. It consists primarily of companies that had never sold an FDA regulated product before, but they were all of a sudden in the hemp business, in the CBD business.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to provide them at our Congress information about how you comply. What do you need to do to meet the good manufacturing practice requirements under the current regulation? What do you need to do to submit a successful new dietary ingredient notification if your particular ingredient is in fact new? What do we need to understand about just the basic regulatory requirements of selling any other herb? That's our view. We keep coming back to, we want to treat it just like any other botanical. The regulatory structure works for that. I mean, it's interesting, Dawn, the definition of a dietary supplement, as was an amendment to the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act in 1994, defines a dietary supplement as an oral dosage form product that contains one of a number of classes of ingredients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, but also an herb or other botanical except tobacco. It doesn't say except cannabis. Cannabis fits in the definition, and any article derived therefrom. So the hemp, the flowering tops, an extract of the flowering tops and leaves, any of the constituents, CBD, they all fit neatly in the definition. And that's really the position that we've been pushing now for really ever since this marketplace of hemp and CBD products started to emerge. We've been talking to industry, act like you're making any other botanical. Just comply, get your food facility registration, meet your manufacturing requirements, keep records of adverse events, and if they're serious, submit those to the Food and Drug Administration. There's a basic framework that's quite robust that protects consumers, both in terms of their safety and their access. And that's a good regulatory model.
It is. It 100% is. I'm so excited about the possibilities of having a framework for these businesses, and there's some amazing products out there. There really are. But these companies need to be brought to the next level, and you guys are helping them do that, and that's amazing. It's just
what I say to people,
doors.
and it sounds maybe a little too snarky or something, but I'll just say, what's your business goal? Are you trying to survive all the way into the first quarter of next year? Well, you would make some decisions. Are you trying to survive for 10 or 20 years? Do you have a long-term business strategy? Well, then you need to get in line. You need to start to learn all of the regulations. You need to comply with them. You're probably going to need to hire an excellent FDA attorney. You might have to hire a manufacturing consultant. You're going to think about hiring one of the CROs that specializes in supporting clinical research. And we are allowed to do research on non-drug botanicals as long as the research endpoint is not to cure a disease. And I think we'll start to see an emergence of interest by the marketers who are going to see the competitive landscape. How do I get my brand ahead? I'm going to articulate something about my supply, the quality of my particular ingredient, and the evidence of efficacy, of usefulness of my product.
They need to invest in the research that shows that. So, okay, so we talked a little bit before the episode about studies, and I just think that it helps to legitimize CBD in the eyes of some people that are still, just on the fence about it, which, because some people they'll never get it. But so on the supplement side, on the herbal side, what are some studies that you know of that, like, what are some results of studies that have been done? Like, what was the purpose or the outcome of it? Like, when you talk about efficacy, like, what kind of things can you say about a study, in a study, or what could your goal be on a study?
We do need to be careful that, for example, if there were clinical research on the usefulness of St. John's wort to cure major depression, that wouldn't help make a claim for a supplement because we're not allowed to label or have an intended use for major depression. But if there were some way to study kind of a sense of well-being that doesn't count the endpoint based on some depression scale, but rather just some other way to measure the effect on feeling good. Or saw palmetto is another one. If we do a study on treatment of symptoms of benign prostatic hypertrophy, well, then we're going to end up with drug claims.
Yeah.
Whereas if we can do something that's much more about the physical effect, the effect of the saw palmetto on structure function, on how it affects a man, say, for instance, a 68-year-old man's urine flow. Well, we're allowed to measure those kinds of structure function claims.
Okay, and
that's where there's got to be care. And I mentioned earlier, there are experts, there are consultants. That's what they do. They help you design a study that can get you to an endpoint that leads to a claim that is substantiated. And move away from FDA for a minute. The Federal Trade Commission also has jurisdiction over our class, and their rule is very simple. Is what you're saying about your product truthful and not misleading, which is not the same as truthful and not misleading. And is it substantiated at the time you make the statement? So you don't get to, after FTC knocks on the door, say, hold on, let me go do a study because me and my mom thinks it works pretty well. You don't get to do that.
Good.
You got to have the substantiation to support whatever your claim is. And there's also, though, an interesting detail of the supplement law in the U.S. We're not required to make claims. We can just talk about product quality. We can talk about source, grown in USA. It's only if we make a claim, it has to be truthful, not misleading, and substantiated.
And with the FDA, it can't be like a cure type of deal. Like you mentioned before when we were talking, muscle soreness is a lot different than arthritis.
Right. Occasional soreness due to you worked out too hard yesterday. We're allowed to make a claim like occasional sleeplessness. We can make a truthful and not misleading and substantiated claim for that, but not for insomnia.
Got it.
Yeah.
Good, because I look forward to seeing some of that and seeing some more of those studies, because I just really know that it will help people when they're buying the product for them to be able to see ways that it can, improve their lives.
Right,
So,
I agree. We have a retailer panel at our event in Denver. We've got 4 or 5 retailers that we're just going to try to engage in conversation. But one of the things that we're going to ask them, Dawn, and it's really related to the comment you just made, we're going to ask retailers, how do you decide which brands you're going to put in your store?
I
And
see
that's
that
kind of
natural grocers is one of those.
Yeah, natural grocers will be there. Yeah. And so it's kind of the same question that consumers have to ask and answer. How do you decide which of the multiple brands you're going to buy? And I'm with you. I hope they decide that they're going to buy the ones that have invested in making some clear conclusions about the efficacy of that particular brand.
Yeah, I hope so too. I love that your natural grocers, it's a big company here in Colorado.
Yep.
And so I love that they're going to be speaking. And I also saw that it was a Navi market.
Yeah,
I think pronounce that.
Yeah, Annie Rouse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be lovely to have that perspective. What a great addition to have in the Congress for people.
We do have a couple of other still invited, but no confirmations yet. We'll have to keep you a little in suspense on those.
Oh, Michael! Oh,
Yeah.
I hate suspense.
We've got a few maybes.
Well, we'll look forward to that too. Okay, so some of the things that you have a lot of knowledge about also is the hemp legalization legislation. So, what are the biggest changes that you saw with the Farm Act, and what did you think was going to come out of the Farm Act that did not come out of the Farm Act?
The Farm Bill, the first thing it did is it simply removed hemp, which is the low THC varieties of cannabis, from the Controlled Substances Act. It's no longer scheduled. It's completely out of DEA's jurisdiction. That was easy. That was done, the removal of that agency. Then what it did is it created a specific obligation for USDA to establish a framework for what's called in the law hemp production in each state. So any state, Kentucky, Colorado, that wants to support cultivation, farming operations in their state will have to submit a hemp plan to USDA and then comply with some fairly basic requirements established under the law. That's proceeding pretty well. We saw USDA announce just a couple of weeks ago that it intends to publish what's called an interim final rule sometime late this summer. And what we're aware of from speaking with them, we've had a really good conversation with folks at USDA. And of course, I don't speak for them, but I can tell you what I heard is a message that said they think their job is to support hemp cultivation. That's a really, really good thing.
Yeah.
Regulatory agency. So they're proceeding well. We're trying to stay involved in that. But because it's not already in place, what we're seeing are a lot of individual states are making up their own rules. Many of them for the right reasons. They're trying to protect the citizens of their state. They don't understand how this product category is developing. And so legislators in individual states are setting up rules for marketing of hemp and CBD products within those states. They're more focused on the end products, the legislators are, because I think they do understand that the state agriculture commission or office is already working on developing those hemp plans. So those are the not surprising parts. Those are the things that are proceeding well. I think the big surprise was that FDA had already taken the position that their interpretation of a couple of provisions of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibit the inclusion of CBD in any dietary supplement or the addition of CBD in any food. So we knew that. We already knew that was their position. But we also know that that exact same provision of the law proceeds, I call it after the comma, read beyond the comma, and it then clearly authorizes FDA to grant an exception to that restriction. And we thought that's what was going to happen. We thought FDA was simply going to grant the exception. We assumed there would be some conditions, that the condition might be a limitation on the total daily consumption of CBD. There might be some specific labeling required to address material information. Oh, I'll make one up, not for use by women who are pregnant or nursing, not for use with other CBD products. Consult with your physician prior to use if using any prescription drugs, those kinds of things.
Standard kind of stuff.
Yeah. We thought FDA would rush to do that, and they haven't. In fact, the last message that we heard, the public message from FDA just last week, was that the agency intends to issue a report early fall.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, we need more than a report. We need a regulation.
Yeah. But then they said that, Congress can do it. Congress can't do jack shit right now. What are you talking about?
It's not and it's really out of the ordinary for a regulatory agency to ask the legislature to create regulation. It's really not how it's supposed to work. And I don't want to disparage the Food and Drug Administration on this issue. They have a tough assignment. They say over and over that there are three priorities, no matter what they're working on, whether it's foods, drugs, cosmetics, dietary supplements. Their three priorities are, first and foremost, protect public safety. Second, to address product quality, ensure quality products. And third, to make sure that consumers have information so that they can make informed decisions.
And those are beautiful things. Yeah.
Every time I hear it, I'm like, that's the same priorities we have.
Yeah.
This is good.
But that's why I don't want Congress to do it, because they don't, they don't have that in their,
and FDA has the regulatory structure. If they'll treat this just like echinacea and chamomile, with some exceptions. There's THC in our plant, but the current regulation already requires any manufacturer of a dietary supplement, not to get too legalese on you, but we're required to establish a specification for any contaminant that may adulterate the finished product. Guess what's the contaminant that could adulterate a finished product? It's THC.
Yeah.
So we're obliged to set a specification, and then we're obliged to meet the specification. That's great. We're going to protect the public safety, we're going to ensure product quality, and we're going to make sure that consumers have informed access. When those three priorities are not met is right now. When, as you pointed out earlier, Michael can point to the regulation, but if there's no enforcement, exactly how robustly is this industry being controlled to protect those three priorities? And that is a big part of our argument. Or maybe I shouldn't call it that. Our position with FDA is act promptly, borrow from your sister agency over there at USDA, issue an interim final rule. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. We can modify it later. But as soon as there's a rule, inspections can occur.
Yes.
FDA can have an immediate expectation that companies in this business are compliant, and they'll start showing up.
Yeah, they will, because they don't have to right now. So why do it? Well, the ones that want to be around 10, 20 years from now are doing it. And there are some amazing companies out there that are really just, they are acting as if it's already done, as if.
Yep, that's correct. A lot of companies, they have, some of them are members of our organization, and we come up with these ideas working with them, that, if we treat this just like any other botanical supplement, the consumers are well served and the marketplace is well served, and the agency can do its job. It really satisfies all the needs. So that's what we're going to keep moving toward. And again, this event, this supplement congress, this hemp CBD supplement congress that we're going to convene, it really is there'll be 200 people in the room. They're the companies who want to know how to do it right. That's who's going to show up. The companies who are into it for a few months because it's really fun, well, they won't be there. And there's other ways to learn how to do this. But ultimately, if you want to be in the hemp business on the supplement side or the food side or the cosmetic side, you're going to have to learn the regulation and you're going to have to comply. And that's all achievable. It's not impossible to do. It's neither is it really easy work. But
let's talk about the distinction between whether you're using it as a supplement, a food, or a cosmetic.
Okay. I mean, the main difference, a food or a supplement are for oral use, and a cosmetic is a topical product. Let me start with, here's something in common with all three of those categories. If you make a drug claim for any of those, a claim that that product cures, treats, prevents, mitigates, or diagnoses a disease, FDA will immediately say, oh, you're not selling a food or a supplement or a cosmetic, you're selling a drug, and they will regulate you as a drug. So that's just the given first lesson for anybody marketing these. Take the claims off your websites, take the claims off your labels, even testimonials. If somebody says, I used this and I had this remarkable recovery from whatever my disease symptom was, you can't post that on your website.
No.
And you don't need to.
No, people can do the research and find out themselves.
Consumers already know what they want. They're willing to discuss. They're willing to do research. They're willing to go find records. They're willing to take care of themselves
and talk to other people as well.
Yeah, I think this goes back to when we formed our cannabis committee. We recognized hemp, cannabis as another botanical. It fits in the botanical kingdom. It fits in our marketplace. It fits in our regulatory structure. And just like all the other botanicals, they're part of the current healthcare system. We as individuals make personal healthcare choices. Some of those we do in consultation with a doctor. Some of those we do in consultation with a knowledgeable herbalist in our community. Some of those we do by researching ourselves online. And I have to assume most individuals are like me. I don't go to just one website. I read, I always read whatever I find kind of in the public forums, Wikipedia. It's a good summary, but I don't ever stop there.
I go to PubMed a lot.
I go to PubMed. PubMed's a great resource. There's some other, I'll go to the NIH at the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. They don't have anything right now on cannabis, but I'll use that as a resource to look for information on botanicals. I'll also take it a little bit with a grain of salt. They're very conservative, but that's still useful. I'm going to go read a conservative website's messaging, and then they'll always give me references. I can go look at the references and see if I come to the same conclusion. But we like having that conservative voice out there.
Yeah.
Again, this is so familiar. I've been doing this for 45 years in my personal life business. I've been doing it for 20 years at AHPA, and it's so familiar. It's just another herb, I keep saying. And then again, it's kind of a special herb.
It is. So like if you had, because I know that there's a lot of companies out there and they have in their portfolio, they've got a topical and a tincture. So are the rules different between cosmetics and?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So how different are they? Like
really different.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. The regulations for cosmetics are probably the most lightly regulated category under FDA's jurisdiction.
Okay.
There's no formal good manufacturing practice. There's no regulation. There's no formal list of allowed or disallowed ingredients.
That's a shame.
There's no adverse event reporting requirement. It's a fairly wide open structure. Now, it's also, I'll go back to we don't always need a regulation to do good.
Right.
Companies that have been, Aveda They've been in business for decades. They want to stay in business. They do. They take care of their business. They
Right.
take care of their
Well,
business and make sure they're selling a safe product under their own authority and their
Right.
own responsibility. And they don't wait for FDA to tell them how to do it.
My thought was, if you're doing the supplement, like the tinctures,
Yeah.
then I appreciate the fact that if they're already at that standard, it should be easy for them to also have their topical.
I agree. If you meet the minimum regulatory requirements for your dietary supplement product, your tablet, capsule, tincture, you almost certainly meet the regulatory requirements for your cosmetic because they're lesser than they are for the supplement product.
Because I think the topicals are amazing at the, whether it's a topical for for that's more on the pain side or more on the just as a moisturizer and daily product.
You did mean on the occasional pain side, right?
Yes, occasional.
Let me ask you a question, if I could turn it around. Do we want CBD in all of our food?
Here's the way I look at it. It was in all of our food a long time ago. I mean, we had it, like our food ate hemp, and we used hemp in different ways. I would like to know if it's in if it's in food. I don't think that I need it in all my food, but if I had it in all my food, I would probably be less likely to take a tincture, or as much. So I'd like to be able to know, and that's why I'm so interested in studies and stuff. It's like I'd like to get to the point where we know the daily recommended milligrams or whatever, and so that I can find a way that works for me to get that amount in my body. Of course, all of our endocannabinoid systems are different. We're all different people, and so one person may not need as much as another. But I actually like hemp burgers, and I like to eat it.
A hemp burger, what is a hemp burger, is probably made from seed, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's still CBD in there. Yeah.
The amount of CBD in there is, de minimis, if at all, right?
Yeah.
But I was more talking about, we're now seeing CBD infused beverages, CBD infused candy.
Yeah.
Nutrition bars.
The thing that I like about the candy is that I have a mother who's early stage Alzheimer's. It is not easy to get her to take a tincture.
Yeah.
But she'll take a gummy bear. And, and then you have children that are autistic. Very difficult to get them to take things that don't taste good.
Yeah.
Give them a gummy bear or a candy, and they'll take it. So for me, I see value in that as a mother and as a daughter of an aging parent. And so for me, I'm like, yes, I want that. I don't want it in everything, but I want to know that it's available somewhere to get it. But no, we don't need to just put it all over the place. Come on. Right. Do I want vitamin C in every single thing that I eat, or echinacea in every single thing that I eat? No. But I do want to be able to know that it's in a form that's palatable for people that it's difficult to get them to take things.
Yeah, but most of the gummy products are sold as dietary supplements. It's just a new format for a dietary supplement product.
Yeah, and that's true. Now, what's the difference between dietary supplement and food?
Well,
because they have separate rules also?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
I can paraphrase. I don't have the exact words, but the definition of a food under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act is a food is a food or an ingredient of a food, and chewing gum. Come on, it was written in 1938. You got to give them
We might want to update that one.
And a dietary supplement is definitely a more complicated definition, but a dietary supplement is intended to supplement the diet. It is not intended to be a substitute for the diet. That's one of the restrictions. We're not allowed to sell a dietary supplement as a replacement for the diet.
Okay.
So it's, if I go away from the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act and just describe, dietary supplements or tablets, capsules, tinctures, powders are also allowed.
And gummy bears.
And gummy bears, definitely. And a big difference is how it's labeled. If it's a dietary supplement, you have to put the word supplement on it on the front panel, and you have to put supplement facts on the back, whereas on a food, you're going to put nutrition facts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Food are for the diet, and supplements are
to supplement, to add to the, There
are different claims allowances. There are different manufacturing obligations. Only supplements have, supplements and over-the-counter drugs and prescription drugs have an obligation to report to the Food and Drug Administration any reports that they receive from a customer that claims
adverse
that
events.
Product, serious adverse events. We're required to report those to FDA. Foods are not.
See, I work in animal health industry, and so I get the adverse events across my desk all the time. I take a lot of those phone calls even myself, and sometimes you get some that are just like, there's no way that this could be any way related. But those are just as important as the ones that are related. And because what happens is then, the research starts and you find, what's happening and how things occur. And that's a beautiful thing. Research, in my opinion, is always a beautiful thing. But when you're talking about with supplements, I understand, because I work with the FDA on the animal side. Do you ever need any NDC numbers?
No.
Okay. Because that with the person I work with, on the animal side, she's like, well, supplements are a gray area. And I'm like, okay. So I was thinking, how gray are they going to be on the hemp side? So.
Yeah, I would probably disagree with any characterization of supplements as gray, but I've been doing this a long time.
Well, because she was saying sometimes if they, as long as it's not a claim, then NDC. No. But she was saying that sometimes if it's like even like a laxative, if it's a supplement that aids in constipation, then you're making claim that you need an NDC.
Yeah.
That's why it's like,
it's probably a bad example.
Oh no, we actually had to have an NDC on one of ours. So, but maybe cows, cows and constipation. That's a bad thing right there.
And horses, I've heard that too.
But so hopefully that they won't push that side of it. So, but so one of the things that I am very frustrated with, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying before, where we were talking about how people are coming in, and finding out about CBD, and you were saying, well, it's probably has nothing to do with the marketing. Well, or not as much to do with marketing. Well, since you can't market CBD easily on the internet or like through Google Ads or Facebook or pretty much anything online, how do you counsel your members on advertising or marketing cannabis hemp products?
I often find myself advocating the primary messaging being on product quality. Because the consumer's already going to educate themselves however they do it with whatever resources they have. And at some point, CBD is CBD is CBD. in terms of the therapeutic benefits, in terms of the health benefits. And so I think looking at sustainability issues, looking at supply chain issues, being able to clearly communicate with your consumers where your source material came from, what your processing solvents are, how the people are treated all the way through from supply down to your own employees. Don't forget, we're supposed to take care of our own employees also, not just people in poor countries,
Yeah.
So that's one message that I think companies can make to differentiate themselves. I think the whole claims issue is just so complicated. It comes to a point that really your message is, my product is very high quality CBD.
Do you ever tell them about like putting the COAs on the websites so that people have access or things like that?
We don't discourage that, and certainly some companies are doing that. Some of our members are doing that. I think it's a little unfortunate, though. If you go into wherever you shop and you want to buy an echinacea product, you don't have to go look at the certificate of analysis. And if you did, you wouldn't know what it meant. That's not your job. You're not an expert. And again, I go back to, we ought to be able to treat this just like any other botanical, just like any other herb. We don't want to place some pressure on consumers to have to read a document that they don't understand and assume that they have to look at that. It shouldn't be their job.
And once the FDA starts enforcing, then it won't be.
Correct. That's our goal, is to, even the retailer, there are some retailers, they look at the certificate of analysis for every botanical product that they sell or every supplement product that they sell. They've built some expertise in their staffing. They choose to do that. They're doing that on behalf of their consumers. Fine.
I want to shop there. I like that.
But I think that the idea that consumers have to know like I said, be able to read a certificate of analysis, it shouldn't be a requirement or even a necessary tool to get to a good product.
Yeah.
Quality product.
Well, how do you recommend that a consumer find a good product?
Well, there is a bit of that you rely on your retailer, and this is one of the questions we're going to ask our retailer panel. How do you determine that? You've got your choice of dozens of brands. How are you making your selection? What are your criteria? Is quality one of them? And I'm going to take some. I'm very comfortable at assigning some of the responsibility for choosing product quality to the retailer. Good. So I shop at Erewhon, I shop at Whole Foods, I shop at Rainbow Acres, and I trust, the staff there,
the buyers,
looking out for me. So there's a little bit of it. I'm willing to telephone people. If I have a question, I'll telephone a brand and say, hey, can you tell me what's the country, where was the hemp grown that produced the CBD? And if they go, I'm not going to tell you,
then I'm not buying.
I have another phone number, and I'll call that phone number instead. And I think that our industry has kind of gotten used to that the consumer demand is such that you got to provide some information. And smart marketers will start to notice what are the questions that are coming up, and they'll figure out how to provide that information at the point of sale with a QR code or by providing brochures at the point of retail. If people want to know, well, did it come from, it is very interesting when we go back and look at the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill, the biggest champion of the Farm Bill was Mitch McConnell, because he wants to support Kentucky farmers.
Yeah.
He does not want to support farmers in other countries.
Right.
And, now we don't get to control, we're in international trade. But I think that if we go back to kind of the formative purpose of the Farm Bill, and the companies that can market this well, they're going to be saying grown in America, made in America. They're going to try to re-engage American consumers as recognizing this as a treasure that has been important in our culture. It wasn't invented here, right? The cannabis plant came from somewhere
Afghanistan or
Afghanistan
Middle
or
East,
India or somewhere over in that part of the world. but it has been a culturally important plant here for all but the last 80 years of our entire, even prior to the existence of the country. It's been important to our culture. So I think that that's another marketing message that can come forward. And then the consumer is going to demand to say, okay, that's all fine, but tell me about your quality.
Yeah.
Tell me about the cultivation practices. And companies that are willing to disclose that and can figure out a short way to get that information to consumers, I think those are the ones that are going to succeed. Product quality all the way down.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we talk about a lot on the podcast is you have a relationship with the people you buy from. Call them up, ask them questions.
Right.
You'll get a feeling right off the bat whether or not they're someone you want to buy from or not.
Right.
So.
That's right.
All right. So, what is something you want everyone to know about CBD?
Let's see. I'll probably get in trouble here. It's not a cure-all.
No, it's not. It's definitely not a cure-all. It supports the endocannabinoid system, but it's not a cure-all.
Right. So, what I want everybody to know about CBD, it's another natural product. If you are a person who has taken seriously your own healthcare choices and natural products are part of that, this one deserves your attention. And you ought to do the research and then determine its usefulness in your particular healthcare regimen. And I'm sorry I did not give you a neat sound bite there. But
I don't need sound bites. This is just your opportunity to say what is important to you about CBD.
Yeah. Take it seriously. Figure it out. Look at it. And
so can I ask you, do you use CBD?
I do occasionally.
You have a whole tool chest of herbs that you can pull and botanicals. So, and you're very knowledgeable about all of them. So I'm sure you use certain things for different things. But fabulous. All right. Well, I will put the link to the event in the show notes. I really, truly recommend if you can get to Denver for the 15th and 16th of August, if you're in the industry, you need to go to this event. This has got some great information in it. There's going to be amazing speakers, and it will get you to the point where you can sustain yourself through these next this next period of time of uncertainty. So when the regulations do come into effect, you're ready to roll.
That's right. We're doing everything we can to assist companies in getting prepared now, because we're encouraging FDA to start knocking on doors.
Yeah,
that's what we all want.
Yeah, we want safe people. I mean, safe products for consumers, and we want people to be safe and to have a sense of security when they go buy it that they're getting a product that isn't tainted with cough syrup like we had a reporter from Leafly who had done an article about a company that had put cough syrup in their CBD so that the people would feel something when they took it. And it's just that's why I just really am looking forward to the regulations coming in.
Yeah, that's blatantly illegal to put any undeclared ingredient in any dietary supplement product or any food product.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Come on, FDA, get out there.
We're working on it. We're working with them. We have, a good and meaningful relationship and an ongoing discussion. And I think there's a sense of mutual respect. We'll get there.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. And we will try to make sure we get Michael McGuffin on again sometime, especially when the FDA comes up with their plans, and maybe we can analyze it again.
Look forward to that.
And I look forward to seeing all of you on August 15th and 16th at the AHPA Hemp CBD Supplement Congress. Thanks, everybody. Stay happy,
Thanks,
stay
Mom.
healthy. Okay.
I will see you there.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.